You're listening to Olivia's Book Club, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Olivia's Book Club, and I'm your host, Olivia Vero, and I want to start out this episode, we're still in, New Year vibes and all of that, by really saying thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day, taking me on a walk with you or on a drive with you, and I was really excited to find out a couple of weeks ago that we had crossed a 100,000 download threshold or whatever. And so that was kind of very surprising because I can't even get my mom to figure out how to listen to this podcast. I don't think any of my relatives or best friends are listening. So thank you. Somebody out there is listening. So that's pretty exciting. So happy to say thank you and report a little progress and that we've been sharing our love of books together. So that's really cool. And I hope that maybe we've helped you pick some good reads, or maybe be more confused about what you're going to read next. That's kind of what happens to me. Okay, so we want to welcome back to the podcast an author who was so delightful with her last release that we have to have her back again, talking about the great author of a fan favorite. Elle Cosimano is bringing Finlay back. And when I say that, I kind of have that like Justin Timberlake song, Bringing Sexy Back, in my mind. It just automatically happens. So we are talking about book number 3 in the series. It is Finlay Donovan is killing it. So Elle, welcome back and congratulations.
Thank you. It's so good to be back with you. It's always exciting to see you.
It is so, first of all, we talked about last time, there is such an affinity for Finlay's cover and the cover art and sort of the vibe that we get about this character and this fun adventure that you take us on with her and her best friend and all of their wild antics and and the confusion and the danger and all of it. But there's just something about those covers, isn't there?
There is. And, now that we're seeing more of them as the series is continuing to grow, we see how beautiful they look together. Everything is so fun. Everything about the series is fun. It just exudes joy. The covers are no exception. They're bright. The art is fantastic. They draw you in from the shelf. And I love that they look beautiful together. So we look forward to many more of them. We're just going to fill everybody's shelves with happy, fun books.
I love it. I know it's we're thinking of shelfie, and that picture image and the colors just pop and just the images are so cute. And I can't wait. I need to look up on Instagram. There's that one great account with the cat that does the book covers. And I know the cat had done one of the previous covers. And I sure hope the cat's at it again.
I would love to see the cat come back to do this. We see so many fun covers. And we also see a lot of people recreating entire scenes from the book. Our fandom is wild and they're having so much fun with these stories. I've never seen such a dynamic social media, just creative dynamic social media response to these books. It's wild.
And it's organic, which is even wilder because we're in a climate now where, everything you look at, you're trying to remind yourself like, oh, is somebody being paid to say that they like this or that or whatever, and everything is so crafted and you're kind of like there's a cynicism that has to be naturally loaded in when you're scrolling social, but this is genuine crazy enthusiasm.
This is genuine enthusiasm. And I think readers are connecting with Finlay so deeply. She's just so relatable. And I think everyone sees something of themselves or something they can relate to in her as a character and in her voice. And so we're seeing this just incredible organic enthusiasm for these stories, and book clubs are embracing it, and library reading groups are embracing it. I'm seeing multi-generational readers, families reading it together. I'm getting mail from husbands and wives who are listening to the audiobooks together. It's one of those series that people can kind of rally around and laugh together and share with each other. And that's been the most fun. We've translated now into more than 20 languages around the world. And it's really fun to see everybody connecting over Finlay in all of these places. And actually one of our translated publishers, and I wish I could remember which one, described the fandom of Finlay as a cult-like following.
What?
And I loved
It's amazing.
I loved that. And I think as we continue to see it grow, we're just going to see more and more people connect over these books.
It's a good thing, Elle, that we can just tell you're a naturally good-hearted person, or a darker soul would be drawn to taking advantage of this potential cult god status and, relocate. And you could have, you could have people working for you and, all kinds of stuff.
I promise, no notoriety here. We're just having a really good time with it, though. It's so heartening, and it's so inspiring to see the response from the readers.
Oh gosh, it's just got to be so gratifying for you. I mean, you writers sit. I marvel over the concept of the solitary experience of the creative process, and then the nervousness and the second guessing that must happen. And I have heard from best-selling authors so many times over that they go through the same dramatic internal turmoil each and every time, and need to be reminded by the people in their life, like, yo, you've done this before, like, look at all those covers, you could do this and people like it. But still, our natural, second guessing selves has got to be a loud voice, and then you get to go, oof, you're out in the world, baby, and guess what? People love you.
Yeah, people think it gets easier with every book, but I think on the contrary, for me, it gets harder. And so there is that fear, right before the book drops out into the world. Will people like it? Will it live up to their expectations? And then with this series, I think that pressure increases because they come in with expectations of what they want this book to be, because they have such strong feelings about the stories. So it is hard, and I've been over the moon with the response to this book, this third installment so far. A lot of people are saying it's their favorite, and that it was the most fun and most funny of the three.
It's
so I'm very excited.
Funny, very funny. And there's just something that I think by book number 3 has happened as the reader that I experienced is I'm returning to my friends. Like, I'm back in a place of comfort and familiarity, and I need to catch up with my girls. And that's a really cool way to approach a story. So for those who might be still, for some reason, their TBRs are so big that they have not yet dug into our darling Finlay Donovan, give us the brief catch-up of the beginning of what puts her into such a unique space in her life right now.
Yes, if you have not yet had a chance to start the Finlay Donovan series, I definitely recommend starting with book 1. And this is where we meet our struggling, recently divorced, single mother protagonist. She is an author whose career is not going quite as well as she had hoped. She's on the cusp of potentially losing her children in a nasty custody battle. And she's struggling to make ends meet when she is overheard meeting with her literary agent in a crowded Panera Bread over lunch. And the woman at the table beside her eavesdrops on her conversation as she is discussing the plot of her overdue novel to her agent. And the eavesdropper misconstrues the conversation and mistakes Finlay for a contract killer. And she makes Finlay an offer of an irresistible sum of money if she will consider killing the woman's horrible husband. And so begins the adventures of Finlay Donovan. And as she is embroiled in one murder mystery after the next, we meet this incredible growing cast of characters in her life. And so here we are now on book 3.
It's so much fun, and I think there's just something about, obviously that's a very relatable space. I mean, half the population has gone through a divorce, and there's just this huge number of people who can relate to those moments of, like, it feels like everything is going against you, and I got to get it together in spite of, it seems like, the things the deck is stacked against, and it's just like funny thing after funny thing, and she is just somebody that you cannot help but constantly root for. And by the way, I just can never not think of that moment anytime I go into a Panera, and I really like Panera. So Finlay and her experience and her journey as a maybe she is, maybe she isn't, contract killer, it comes to me often because I do enjoy a Panera bowl soup.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Come on. So catch us up here with book number 3. Finlay Donovan is killing it. The two besties are still living together. They're trying to help each other and, pick each other up, getting in a variety of messes. A little bit of romance, of course, always has to be part of our excitement. And this time we also get immersed in a really great environment of a citizens police academy that is like a sleepaway camp for people who are into true crime.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I had a lot of fun with this one. It was neat to take readers to a brand new, fresh setting. And this one was sort of inspired by my own experiences going away to a writers' police academy, where I was able to do a lot of the fun activities that Finlay and Vero find themselves immersed in while they're at Citizens Police Academy. And of course, we take some creative liberties in terms of the kinds of activities our heroine and her sidekick can get into and what kind of trouble they find themselves in. But there was quite a bit of inspiration taken from some real life citizens type courses that I had an opportunity to do that were very hands-on. And so it was really fun to translate those into Finlay's story, into her world, and bring readers along for the ride. We had a good time with this one.
That is amazing that is even offered to writers, because writers do have very particular questions. And I kind of always think about it sort of like the Panera mix-up, when we see a story play out in the news and somebody's arrested for a crime, or you're looking at the long Dateline special and you start seeing what their Google searches were, and they thought they were incognito, but really they were, how do you get rid of a 135-pound, female body or whatever. And it's like, well, writers must have the most sketchy or sus, as my son would say, Google search history ever. So it's good to have this alternate resource.
Yeah, it's my Google search history alone probably has me on several very scary watch lists. But my husband is a network security guy, so he's always reminded. He always says, "Do you have to look at? Do you have to search for that, like specifically that language in particular?" So I probably scare him more often than not. But the Writers Police Academy was a great experience, exactly like you said, for asking those really uncomfortable questions that you really get frowned upon for asking anywhere else. And so we had an opportunity to really openly brainstorm all of these things related to writing crime fiction. And so, and at the same time, get real world information about how things really work, so that we would know when we can impart some of that information to the reader, and when we can exaggerate it for the cause of writing great fiction.
Mm-hmm. Because even, and I know, many communities will have a citizens police academy that you've done before, maybe that's 1 day, 2 days or whatever. But if you were in that mix of people and then asking the kind of questions that you really need answered to help with your writing and how to avoid arrest, in an investigation that feels like, you're doing a big cover up and you're moving bodies and all of that, you would probably, not be a popular lunch companion on the break of Citizens Police Academy.
I would think a lot of people would be watching us very closely. And that's interesting, because that's sort of the situation where Finlay and Vero find themselves in, because here they are at a Citizens Police Academy doing exactly that. Uh-huh. And that sort of makes it a little bit challenging when you're trying to avoid detection after you've maybe done some questionable things. So
Finlay is a very we knew from the moment we met her, even though when we met her at her rockiest time, that she is just a naturally independent, competent woman who is also a very good human and good accountable friend and family member to other people. She's got such a close relationship, especially with her sister and, of course, with Vero. So where do you see changes in Finlay, or what were you most happy about revisiting with her for book number 3? And I think you said we're going to at least number 5.
We are absolutely, I'm in the thick of number 4 right now. So I'm in the process of drafting number 4. I'm very optimistic that we will continue on with this series. So, we've enjoyed a wonderful reception with these books. We think readers are really excited about them. And if that excitement continues, then I am ready with lots more ideas for future books. But yeah, with this one in particular, with Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun, what I love most every time I come back to one of these stories, what really speaks to me the most and what I love coming back to the most is this friendship at its heart, this unconditional female friendship between Finlay and Vero. They are found family now. And there's nothing that they wouldn't do for each other. And so when we talk about Finlay's arc and kind of who she is at this strong woman at the beginning of the story, and she's growing stronger as she's sort of rediscovering herself and claiming her new identity. And but one of the things that I especially loved coming into this one is that we really start to see the balance in that friendship. So in the first story, Finlay was in a vulnerable position and Vero got to be the really strong one to kind of leverage her and lift her up and support her through some really tough times. And in this story, we start to see that Vero's got some vulnerabilities too. And Vero's got some backstory that she's dealing with here. And now we get to see Finlay sort of rise up to be that supporting force. And that's really, I think, what true friendship boils down to, is that balance that, when one is weak, the other is strong for them, and that you reciprocate that. And so it's fun for me to show the balance in this relationship and let us see that Vero's at a point where she needs that support too, and that Finlay can give it to her. So this found family feels so completely perfect in that way to me, perfectly imperfect. And so that's the thing I love coming back to with each of these books.
Have you, and I know you write some young adult fiction as well, and so have you been so immersed in the Finlay series that you want to be all in here and art creating characters elsewhere, or don't have the time to, or are you kind of balancing back and forth? Because I know it's probably a very different approaches for you.
Yeah, I'm immersed in Finlay right now. It is a really time-consuming series, if for no other reason than because the fandom is so excited and so enthusiastic. And
we don't want to wait for the next one, right? We want them quick.
Exactly. And they're also very engaged. And so I do spend a lot of time talking with my readers, engaging with my readers. And next week, I'm going to be visiting with a lot of my readers as I'm heading out on tour. So, that does take up a lot of time. I always have stories on the burner. I have stories that I've started. I have stories that are percolating for all ages. And I'm really excited. I'm sure at some point I'll have a chance to get back to some of those. But for now, 100% of my focus has been on Finlay, and it's been wonderful. And we're just having such a good time with it.
Oh, and I know everybody appreciates it. And it must be really fun, especially in this stage of a series on book number 3, to go out on a book tour, because there's a real relationship there with these readers.
There is. And I love, one of the things that I think the pandemic brought to us was the beauty of Zoom. It has allowed me to connect with readers all over and to do it more frequently. And so I find I'm Zooming with book clubs, and I'm Zooming with libraries, and I'm face-to-face able to engage with readers as they're reading these books. And so that's been really, really special. Going on tour is, this is the first real physical in-person tour that I've done in a long, long time. So it's going to be great to get out to booksellers and be in the same room with folks and to physically sign their books with them. And so I'm really looking forward to all of that.
The flip side to all of that communication and relationshiping with your readers is that I imagine you get a lot of strong suggestions from readers who probably know best what Finlay should be doing, who she should be dating, what she should be tackling next. Do you get a lot of suggestions?
I do. I get a lot of suggestions. They do have very, very strong opinions. The romance is certainly one that comes to mind. We get a lot of people want the spoilers. They want to know, well, what's going to happen, who's she going to end up with, and are they finally going to get together? And I'd say this is a spoiler-free zone, folks. Nope. You got to go out and read the book. So. But we get a lot of, and I love it. I think it's a testament to how passionate they are, that they take the time to reach out and ask the questions and tell me, what they would like to see happen in the series. And, sometimes I have to sort of kind of archive all that because from a creative standpoint, like I want to be in a space where I'm driving the story the way I feel like it needs, in the direction it needs to go, so to speak. But I take all that enthusiasm as such a wonderful sign, and every email, every message, every contact form on my website. I appreciate the time that people took to read the books, but also to reach out and tell me how much they enjoyed the books.
Yeah, that's so cool for for everyone that reaches out. I mean, there's infinitely more who didn't think to communicate it, but is talking about it with their friends or their family, or smiling to themselves as they're listening to it in the car, or sitting down with the latest book, and it's just so many hours of joy and escapism, which is so often what we need right now. Because I neglected to bring my book with me today, like a fool, will you go through just so if somebody is listening and maybe they have not read all of the books, let's start with the titles and the color for 1, 2, 3, so that we can be prepped to tackle in order and be completely caught up and be part of the culty love club that is the Finlay fan.
Yes, if you are just getting started with Finlay Donovan, I definitely recommend starting with the pink one.
Yes.
This is Finlay Donovan is Killing It. And this is the opener, the series opener. And each of these books can be read as standalones, but because every mystery builds off the plot and the reveals of the previous book, I recommend doing them in order if you can. So start with the pink one, Finlay Donovan is Killing It. Then we have the blue one, Finlay Donovan Knocks Him Dead, is installment number 2. And we have this beautiful minty green one, Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun, which comes out this coming Tuesday here in the U.S. We're super excited about this one.
Oh, yay. And they do look so good. They look so good together. It's like a Easter egg, Easter basket of fun. Look at that. Made for a shelfie. Let's go to the gram right now. Elle, so wonderful to talk to you. Congratulations. Looking forward to seeing the book all over my social media feeds. I absolutely loved all 3 installments, and it really was like returning to some friends who I had missed. So thank you so much for taking us along on the latest exploits with the ladies. It was a great time, as I expected it would be. So thank you.
Thank you. It was great to be back.
Thanks for listening to Olivia's Book Club, the podcast. I'm your host, Olivia Fierro. Our producer is Margaret Stewart. You can send us an email with your thoughts or your book recommendations. Olivia's Book Club at azfamily.com is the address. And you can check out Olivia's Book Club on Facebook or find us on Instagram. Hello, Bookstagrammers, at olivias.bookclub. And Margaret is at Overbooked and Overdue. Make sure to rate and subscribe to this podcast and tell your friends. You can find us on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Amazon Music.
This is Olivia's Book Club, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.